Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time, or if you're a returning viewer and you've not yet done so, please hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content right here on this channel. So I'm here tonight to do a review for Monday Night Raw for July 19th, 2021. Normally we don't do on the channel Monday Night Raw and SmackDown reviews live. But since fans have been back, I've been kind of wanting to maybe start doing them again here. But after tonight's show, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be totally honest with you. We may continue to do Raw and SmackDown reviews on our NXT reviews every Wednesday here on the channel. Because to be honest, I mean, everybody was talking about how WWE is getting fans back. They're saving all their big stuff for their fans. And SmackDown, we did a little bit of a review on it in our Money in the Bank review, which I thought was a good show, by the way. Money in the Bank was a very good show. It had some minor problems, but all in all, I thought it was a good show. SmackDown was, kind of one of those deals where we got the crowds back. We got the big, new set with the big video board. We got the 3D graphics, and a lot of it was still poorly booked, in our opinion here on the channel. Mine mostly. Brandon agrees for the most part, I think. Now, I couldn't wait to talk about Raw. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit with Brandon on the NXT review. But after seeing the show, I could not wait to do a review on this because this is kind of going to our point. This show felt like they were throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Monday Night Raw. They basically took all the big surprises outside of Becky Lynch, and they basically gave you everything one night. And we're trying to grab as many fans as possible, considering they realize, I think, that with crowds coming back, this is probably going to be their highest rated Raw in a while, their highest rated shows over this weekend here. So they're probably trying to get all of the views they can and try to hopefully grab some of that audience to come back next week. So from that perspective, I understand it. But when you're booking it as a pro wrestling company, which I know this company doesn't want to be a pro wrestling company, they want to be a sports entertainment company. And there were times tonight, obviously the crowd was definitely into a lot of this stuff because this crowd paid for their tickets and they got basically everything that WWE could have done on Raw for the next 6 months in one night. But not only did they throw everything in the kitchen sink at this episode, a lot of the things they threw at the screen were the wrong decisions. So let's get into the show here. Let's break it down one at a time here, and I'll get into some of my major issues with the show. To me, this is one of the, while it had, like I said, all the fans and the window dressings and everything to kind of mask some of the issues, this was one of the most poorly booked episodes of Monday Night Raw I believe I've probably ever seen. So let's get into it here. The show opened up with John Cena. He entered the arena to another big reaction, same kind of reaction he got at Money in the Bank. Cena noticed fans were still getting to their seats and encouraged everyone to get in quickly. He also shouted out a young fan who was celebrating his birthday, so that's really cool with John Cena. Cena missed the fans and missed being there. He always said that the biggest superstar in WWE was the fans, and they were proving it tonight. He joked that he might wear his Peacemaker outfit to the Suicide Squad premiere. That could be interesting. He came back last night at Money in the Bank and ruined Roman Reigns' championship celebration because of the fans. It was because of them, but it was also because of Reigns. The crowd then booed Roman Reigns. Cena wanted a Universal Championship match at SummerSlam in Las Vegas. So, nitpick number one, why does John Cena get a world title match at SummerSlam? We mentioned this in our Money in the Bank review last night. John Cena has absolutely done nothing to earn that title shot. But this is the way WWE books their championship matches. They bring back former champions and wrestlers who were part-timers, and they're giving them title matches just because. Now, again, as we mentioned in our Money in the Bank review, John Cena is a big name. He is going to sell a lot of tickets for SummerSlam, and so Cena versus Reigns is a hot money, match. But when you're booking it from a pro wrestling standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense for Cena just to walk in, surpass everybody on the roster who has been there and has been fighting tooth and nail to get opportunities, but WWE does not count wins and losses. So what does it matter? So it's hard for a fan base to care about this title match because they've not built it properly. You're just bringing in a part-timer, much like we're going to get into with the WWE Championship feud as well here in a little bit. And you're just basically saying, all right, you're a name, you're going to sell tickets, you're going to put butts in seats, and that is all they care about. And it's hard for us, more hardcore pro wrestling fans to get invested when they do this sort of thing. So this is mistake number one, in my opinion. I mean, John Cena's great. I thought he was great here. I love John Cena. I was glad to see him back. But at the same time, it's not the way you book this. Cena then wanted to explain why he wanted the match. It wasn't because of the magnitude of SummerSlam or because it would be title win number 17, which is another thing they're going to use to build this here. It was because Roman Reigns was an asshole and he needs to be knocked down a peg. They went so far as to even bleep out the fact that he called Reigns an asshole, which is interesting because later in the night, MVP said the word bullshit, didn't get bleeped once. So why? I mean, I would consider that the other word worse. So I don't know why they have to bleep that out here, but that's just me. The pathetic Reigns experience has gone on long enough, he said. He called Reigns an arrogant, self-absorbed, overhyped, overprotected gimmick who wasn't as over as he thinks he is, and that's coming from him. He said, if you were good, you tell everyone how good you were, but if you were great, the fans tell you, which is interesting because he basically asked the fans to cheer right before he said this. So it's kind of interesting to me. Cena also announced that he planned on showing up to SmackDown this Friday. So they're definitely going to be setting up. And again, this is one of those situations where you bring in John Cena. Since he's a big name, you put him on Raw to hopefully get the viewership from all the fans coming back, and we're hoping some of these returning viewers who were only going to come back once fans were able to return. I understand why you put Cena on Raw here, but this was really, if you're going to have him on SmackDown basically saying the same stuff, it was really kind of a waste of time here, unfortunately. Outside of the fact that he gives a little bit of a rub here to a new superstar. So in that regard, I liked how they used him. Didn't care for the segment, but Cena said it was time to get this show started, which brought out Riddle. Cena was caught off guard by Riddle's fireworks. The crowd chanted bro during his entrance, which, again, this show, it is very obvious to me, they are still piping in crowd noise. Despite the fact the Thunderdome is no longer a thing, they are still putting in crowd noise to maybe to kind of coerce the crowd to chant certain ways, I don't know, or to make it sound like the crowd is interested in certain parts of the show. Now, and the bro chants, I think were there. There were a lot of fans who were chanting it, but there was some stuff later on, especially like, during some of these other, matches and stuff that it felt like that, the crowd noise was definitely there. We'll get into that though. Cena and Riddle said bro a bunch of times. Cena then hugged Riddle and left. So this was cheesy WWE comedy where Cena was like, bro. Matt Riddle was like, bro. And Cena was like, bro. And he's like, I get it, bro. And then they kind of just smiled for it was really weird. But at least Cena was doing his best to kind of give the rub to Riddle here. So that's what a part-timer should be doing, putting over the new younger stars, which is the way a lot of companies would approach this. But WWE, on the other hand, they bring their stars or their legends, part-timers back, and they shove them into title opportunities, and that's just not the right way to do things, unfortunately. Bobby Lashley is issuing a WWE Open Challenge tonight, and Charlotte Flair will have a championship celebration. So we're going to get into that. First match of the night, we had a 6-man tag match. Riddle and the Viking Raiders defeated John Morrison and the Raw Tag Team Champions AJ Styles and Omos. Luckily, in this case, the Tag Team Champions didn't take the pinfall. John Morrison is the one who got pinned. But again, Raw Tag Team Champions on the losing side of things. So here we go again. WWE loves to beat their champions. Again, it feels like a broken record at this point on this channel. We talk about this in a lot of our wrestling reviews. Beating champions occasionally, on a rare occurrence, is okay as long as you do it sparingly. But WWE has this bad knack for doing it week in, week out with all of their champions. And tonight they even reached even further and decided to bury the top champion of another, third brand on this show. So we're going to get into that as well, which literally pissed me off. But so Eric and Ivar basically squashed Morrison on the outside here. We had a spot where it basically kind of boiled down to Miz was on the outside in the wheelchair, and he was, waving the drip stick around, which, by the way, WWE is, they heard that, Johnny Drip, chant last night during Money in the Bank, and now they've got him coming out with, the America's Moist Wanted t-shirt on, by the way, which is absolutely cringe. And then they got the announcer saying it now, so it's only going to get worse. The crowd basically said they liked it, and now we're going to get it ad nauseum, unfortunately. But anyway, Miz was on the outside in the wheelchair here, and he was, using the dripstick, kind of like swinging it around. That's when Riddle took it from him and sprayed Omos in the back as he's standing on the apron here. Omos then turns around and sees Miz with the dripstick, and basically thinks Miz is the one who did it. So he goes after Miz, which kind of brings AJ Styles out there to kind of stop him from hurting Miz. And then, when all this is going on, John Morrison gets distracted and he gets pinned by the Viking Raiders here. So yeah, again, distraction finish. So here we go again, distraction, and that's how they lose. So I mean, again, much like the championship scenario here, you can do distractions, you can do DQs, which there's another one of those later on tonight. There are things you can do that, for those that, but as long as you use them sparingly. But you use them far too much on every single show you guys are doing. I mean, Monday Night Raw is, basically distractions, DQs, rematches, and championship losing. That's basically what the shows are now. And not to mention, now we're going to start burying, up and coming talent. We're going to, we'll get into that too. But anyway, this show absolutely made me livid, if you can't tell. So I'm kind of venting here. So I hope you guys like rants. So yeah, the crowd was definitely not super into this, but they popped for the finish and we're happy to cheer along with the baby faces when they celebrated here. I can understand why they weren't thrilled with it. I mean, like I'm saying, the six-man match as it's on its own wasn't terrible or anything like that. They were doing very well, but it was just, again, the finish tends to ruin things. When you have a poorly booked finish, all these matches that go 12, 15 minutes, which there were a few on the show that were actually decent up until the finish, and it's just like the crowd's just deflated at that point. It's like, all right, why are we sitting here waiting for a payoff when we're not going to get it? Let us have those release of endorphins to where we get a winner or a loser. God forbid, we got that on Money in the Bank, but it seems like pay-per-views are easier for WWE to book because they're not pushing the story element so much. They're paying it off with the wins and losses of the feud at the very end, or if it may continue beyond it a little bit, but they like to at least do winners and losers at a pay-per-view. But Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, when they're trying to build stories, it just seems like they can't seem to book it properly, and all they do is just screw it up. Anyway. Then we saw Jackson Riker. He said he planned on doing bad things to Elias tonight. So here we go again. Monday night rematches. I mean, it's just like, how many times have we seen Jackson Riker and Elias? Not only that, there's a couple other rematches on the show. And I remember a time when the head honchos of WWE came out and said, we're going to listen to the fans. And, as long as we give you what you want, we know that you guys will stick around. And, and they said no more rematches, no more, if you get beat in a title match, you're not going to get an automatic rematch, things like that. All that's out the window now. They flat out lied about all that stuff. I mean, it just goes to the bigger issue here in WWE. They've got a core creative problem. Yes, they have occasional nights like Money in the Bank where they do a great job. And everybody, I praise them on the Money in the Bank review. Everybody who booked that the way it came out, I felt like deserve a raise. But I feel like everybody who booked this show should be dragged out to the back of the alley and fired on the spot, because this is ridiculous. So yeah, they plug next year's WrestleMania in Dallas. They still aren't putting up a number in the logo, but it's at this point they don't number their WrestleManias anymore, unfortunately. Elias was in the ring. He got the crowd to yell, "Walk with Elias." Before he could say more, Riker appeared on the screen. He said everyone was sick of the shtick, and after tonight, we'd never hear Elias say, "Hello, I am Elias," again. One can only hope, but that's not going to be the case. Then we have what they called a Symphony of Destruction match. Jackson Riker defeated Elias in 12 minutes and 44 seconds. This felt like it went on way too long. However, I have been critical of WWE and Monday Night Raw, especially of only having matches lasting 3 minutes. So in that regard, I'm glad it was at least a full match for once. So they did that part right. However, I just don't feel like this was really important. It was unnecessary. There was really no... because it really didn't do anything. I mean, Jackson Riker ended up winning here again. I mean, he's basically owned Elias. There's no reason for this feud to continue. So, yeah, hopefully this is the end of it. I don't want to see this anymore. I'm sick and tired of it. Nothing against the two guys. I think Jackson Riker actually looks great physically, and, they've given him a bit of a push here. So, obviously, Vince likes him, so I understand. But Elias is like, all right, they're just not doing anything with him. So, at this point, I'm over it. So, we'll move on. The crowd was quiet for the first half, but got into it once they started using the piano outside. Yeah, so it just felt like it went on way too long. But anyhow, Mansoor was with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville in the back. Mustafa Ali showed up, and Deville informed him that they've approved their request to be a team. Ali was surprised to learn this. Mansoor explained that if Ali wanted him to learn, it made sense for them to team up. Ali didn't like it, but agreed to do it for one night. So Sheamus showed up and argued with Deville and Pearce. He wasn't happy about having to face Humberto Carrillo again. Deville said Carrillo deserved a fair shot. Sheamus threatened to smash Carrillo's face. They piped him some booing when he said that. So, I mean, again, it just felt like they're trying to coerce the audience, and at home especially, and if they're piping it into the arena where the crowd can hear, they're maybe trying to help them, cheer the way they want them to cheer, and if that's the case, stop it. The crowd's not going to listen to that anyway. They're going to cheer however they want. But yeah, and this is another instance, again, where I thought we weren't getting more rematches. We've seen Carrillo versus Sheamus week in, week out for what seems like months now. Now, granted, they've obviously had some things where Sheamus attacked him in the back before the match, or, and I guess they're saying it wasn't a fair shot. But he's had matches with Sheamus before and hasn't pulled it off. I mean, just because one week he got attacked from behind doesn't mean there hasn't been other nights where he's had fair shots, even including the night he broke his nose, and I believe he lost that match too. So it's like, why are we continuing to do this feud? It's going nowhere. Just drop it at this point. We're done. Charlotte Flair's celebration, championship celebration here. Charlotte got a mixed reaction. She said it felt good to be standing there as women's champion. She said Rhea Ripley tried to take a page from her book, but she's the one who created the book. The crowd chanted for Becky Lynch. Again, they didn't pull that trigger tonight, at least. At least they're saving one thing, but everything else they kind of threw at this screen, as we're going to get to here. Basically, everything they had planned for a surprise, they threw it at this show, and it's like, wow, talk about no patience. And that's one of the big issues here. They have no patience. They can't book 5 minutes in front of their face. So anyway, Charlotte let them know that Lynch was at home breastfeeding. She ran down her accolades and called herself the only 11-time women's champion in history. I guess they aren't counting NXT anymore because she specifically mentioned being a 1-time Divas champion, 5-time Raw champion, and 5-time Smackdown champion. Of course they're not going to count NXT. They could give a crap about NXT on the main roster. And we're going to get into that here in a minute too. That's the thing that made me the most angry on this show. That NXT is the best of the 3 brands that WWE has. I hate to say it, but it is. And I understand a lot of people like Raw, a lot of people like SmackDown. And again, I'm not begrudging you if you do. If you like this show, good for you. I wish I could join you. To me, Raw sucks. Raw is absolutely terrible. SmackDown's a little bit better, but their booking isn't any better outside of Roman Reigns and the Usos for the most part. And even they made Roman look weak going into Money in the Bank a little bit. I'm glad you like it. And again, I'm not trying to rain on your parade. This is just my opinion. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But I'm not going to mince words. I'm going to be honest with you guys here on my channel. That's all I'll say about that. Let's see. Charlotte said she could beat Ripley any day of the week. Ripley interrupted and challenged her to a rematch tonight. So here we go again. Another rematch. Not only that, Ripley lost at the pay-per-view. And she gets yet another title match just that quick. I thought they said they weren't going to do that no more. Okay, so yeah, apparently they lied again. Charlotte mocked her and mentioned Ripley whining about her hurt knee last night. Charlotte declined to give her that rematch. Pearce and Deville, though, came out, which again, they've never ever explained why Sonya Deville has matchmaking power, why she is in a position of authority. They just kind of threw her there, and so that's another little bit of an inconsistency they've been doing, which again, I can overlook that a little bit, but it's just a nitpick. Deville congratulated Charlotte on winning the title. However, she did just say she can beat Ripley any day of the week. Adam Pearce agreed and made the title match official for tonight. The crowd cheered because, they're getting a title match. Of course the crowd's going to cheer. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right booking call. A live crowd is going to cheer anytime you give them a title match. That's just because they paid for their tickets, so they're going to be happy that you give them something that, they can actually, experience. A championship match, of course. But long-term booking, that makes no sense. To just turn right around, okay, Rhea, you get another title shot, even though you got beat last night. Cleanly. So, again, it's just one of those things. What did Rhea do to earn it? She lost. Back of the line. But they don't do it like this, unfortunately. This is why WWE is not good right now, ladies and gentlemen. I wish more people would start to understand. I know a lot of people do. There's a lot of people who will defend this show despite the garbage that they're putting on the television screen. And I wish that would change, because the more people support this, the more they're going to continue to book it like this, unfortunately. Charlotte kicked her shoe at Ripley before kicking her leg out from underneath her. Ripley went down and Charlotte left the ring. So yeah, that's basically setting up that match later. They recap Nikki ASH. I just wish they'd just call her Nikki Ash, because saying Nikki ASH all the time is just, it's too much of an effort. Just call her Nikki Ash. We get Ash stands for almost a superhero. We get it all the way. So they recapped her winning the Money in the Bank contract, which we're going to get into again by the end of this show. Tag team champions Natalya and Tamina defeated Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. At least they didn't pin Natalya and Tamina again. For the last 3 weeks, last 3 shows outside of Money in the Bank, Natalya had taken pinfall losses, 3 in a row. So at least they didn't do that. But yet again, Shayna Baszler is the one who gets pinned. Shayna Baszler has been getting pinned over and over. God forbid they beat Nia Jax or something, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, Baszler is – at least they kind of furthered the story a little bit with the Reginald situation. Basically, Reginald got up on the apron, tried to, distract a little bit to get to help Shayna and Nia get the advantage here. But, of course, it backfired, and Reginald basically cost them the match here. And Natalya I think it was – who was it here? I think it was can't remember who got the pinfall. Yeah, Tamina won with a quick pinfall after super kicking Shayna Baszler thanks to Reginald's shenanigans on the apron. So, yeah, so he cost them the match. And afterwards, Baszler seemed to have had enough with this. She said off mic that they were unstoppable until Reginald showed up. I don't know about that, but they were at least better. The crowd chanted for Shayna. Jax hugged Reginald before headbutting him. As soon as she hugged Reginald, I said, Reginald, it's over, buddy. Back away. And, of course, he got destroyed by Nia Jax here. Jax left with Shayna Baszler, and Reginald was alone in the ring, and a few people chanted, Reggie sucks, which is funny because they chanted that Reggie sucks and immediately started chanting, let's go, Reggie, when this next segment happened or something like that. So Akira Tozawa was chased down to the ring by the 24/7 Geeks. And, of course, Reginald knocked him down and pinned him to win the title. So he got kicked out of Baszler and Nia Jax's little group here and turns right around and wins the 24/7 championship. Okay. This 24/7 title is... Everybody wants to compare it to the hardcore title. No, that was better. And it had some crazy shenanigans as well. Don't get me wrong. Wasn't the biggest fan of it in the Attitude Era either myself, but at least it was better than this. This is just a bunch of guys, chasing after this week in and week out. This title is 2 years old now. Get rid of it. It's not doing anybody any favors at this point. The other wrestlers went after Reginald, but he leaped over the steel steps and bailed. The crowd changed their minds and then applauded Reginald, as I said. So they were chanting he sucks. Then all of a sudden they were cheering for him to go for the 24/7 title. Boy, just typical, Raw wrestling fan for sure, who just basically will, like anything they give him, unfortunately. Then we get this news that Karrion Kross, the current NXT World Champion, is going to debut on Monday Night Raw tonight. Here me and Brandon and us here on the channel, we thought that Karrion Kross was safe from going to the main roster and taking that demotion when he retained his NXT World Championship against Johnny Gargano last week. We were all wrong. Karrion Kross apparently looks to be on the Raw brand a little now. Now, it probably means he's going to be pulling double duty, which makes this even worse because of what happens here. The crowd popped when they saw the graphic, but if they knew what was about to hit them, they were in for a rude awakening. Scarlett was obviously not in the graphic, and she wasn't on this show. So they're already changing his gimmick from the get-go here, which we should have seen coming when he had the main event tryout a few weeks ago. And they basically having him doing generic entrance number 2 from WWE 2K. And it just completely changed everything he was. Now, they did add some lights and stuff, but the whole entrance here that Karrion Kross gets in his debut match tonight, it's nothing like his NXT entrance. They're already changing him the second he got on the main roster. And they do this a lot with NXT call-ups, and it's what ruins them from the start. You don't need to be changing things that don't need fixed. Triple H sets these guys up for you, and all you got to do is knock it down, and you don't. You sit here and you're like, okay, well, we didn't do it, so now we've got to change this, and usually it makes them worse. Ask Rhea Ripley. Ask Keith Lee, who we're going to talk about. Ask, Finn Balor at one point. Hopefully they don't screw him up this time. Ask Samoa Joe. Ask all these guys that they brought up to the WWE Raw now. Well, Samoa Joe was a little bit better, but for the most part, everybody they call up from NXT is just completely ruined night one. And Karrion Kross here was as well, and as well as the entire NXT brand, which is what made me mad. So we'll get to that here in a minute. The U.S. champion, Sheamus, defeated Humberto Carrillo in 10 minutes. Since we've seen it 100,000 times, went a little long for me. But again, at least it was a full match. I understand that. But Carrillo basically hurt his hand after punching Sheamus' steel face mask. And Sheamus then used that face mask to headbutt Carrillo and hit a bro kick for the pinfall here. Okay match, but yeah, I mean, the finish at least is playing into the storyline of he broke his nose, so now he headbutted him with said mask. That part I appreciated. I don't know if the mask is supposed to be, it should be allowed to be used, but there's a lot of things that are called as DQs and stuff in WWE right now. It's like, okay, what constitutes a disqualification and what constitutes legal? We got Bianca Belair using her hair on SmackDown. That's apparently legal until people complain about it. But then we've got Rhea Ripley pulling the plastic piece off of the, announce table to hit Charlotte with. That's a DQ. And the same two women used steel steps Charlotte used to crush Rhea's leg last night at Money in the Bank. That's not a DQ, though. That's okay. But don't take the plastic piece off the table. And now we've got a steel face mask using for a headbutt. And that's apparently legal, too. So it's like, it's just, whenever they deem it necessary to be a distraction or a DQ, I should say. So it's just like, okay, just whatever the script says we need to do tonight. Much like who needs to play the babyface tonight? Who needs to play the heel tonight? Sometimes AJ and Omos are babyfaces. Other times they're heels. It just depends on, what story they're trying to tell that given night. There's no consistency. We need to have consistency when it comes to the rules, when it comes to all this stuff. Otherwise, it's just like, why should we care? That's the problem here. Up next, we had Bobby Lashley and an MVP promo. Lashley and MVP entered for Lashley's open challenge. Lashley said he did all the talking he needed to last night when he destroyed Kofi Kingston. He was done talking. I like this version of Bobby where he's short, sweet, and to the point. No problem with that. MVP said the fans were lucky to be in Lashley's presence. He said the Dallas fans resented the champ because they were Cowboys fans and haven't had a winner in decades. That was a funny line. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of got a chuckle out of that as an NFL fan. MVP realized that Kofi Kingston was right, but his words lit a fire under the champion. The crowd chanted "what" but at MVP, but he ignored them. But even though he was stopping and allowing them to say the "what" chant, this chant needs to stop. MVP was doing a great job here, and as much as I enjoyed Stone Cold and everything in his time, this is only making the promos for the current superstars worse when the crowds do this, unfortunately. So yeah, I guess apparently this article said the same happened with Cena earlier. So yeah, again, I understand the appeal of chanting it. It's kind of fun to say it when the promo is pausing in between sentences, but it's not helping these guys at all. It's only making it worse. MVP said Lashley was vulnerable a few weeks ago, but that window has closed, and no one would be able to take his championship now. No more women, champagne or fun and games to distract him. No more bullshit. This is where we got the no more bullshit line, and apparently they did not bleep this out, but they had to bleep John Cena saying asshole. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because, John's a babyface. You can't have your babyfaces cursing. I don't know if that's what it is or not. But anyway, I thought that was a little bit odd. Tonight, we'd get to witness the most dominant champion in history. Lashley grabbed the mic and asked who was accepting his open challenge. That's when I thought Bill Goldberg was going to walk out. The reports were that Goldberg was going to be debuting tonight, which we will get into here in a minute. But that's what I thought. He was going to come out and answer the challenge. No, we got Keith Lee, the returning Keith Lee. He'd been out of action since January. We still don't know why or where he's been. So Keith Lee came out, and Lee and Lashley stared down each other as they went to break. Corey Graves said it was a title match, but the graphic made it seem like Lee would earn a future title match if he won. So yeah, that's another thing WWE's doing right now. They're doing these things, which they're not even hiding it anymore. One of my biggest criticisms about how you build title feuds is to keep the contender strong and keep the champion strong. And you build wins for the contender, and you have the championship not lose. And when you have the title match, both contender and champion are strong. They're not losing anything. And when they meet, it's like who can win scenario. And it's like how you build MMA fights or a boxing match. You don't go out there and have them lose, and all of a sudden they're in a title match. It would make no real life sense. So why does WWE book it like this? Because they don't care about that sort of thing. So what they're doing now, they're not even hiding the fact that their formula to set up title matches is for the contender, whoever they want to put in the title match, must pin the champion now in order to earn the title match. This is not the way to book wrestling at all. And they're calling it championship contenders matches. So they're even putting it in the graphics now. That's how they're billing this. Now, I don't know if they did that for the Keith Lee match, but they did do it a little bit later on, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals where you must pin the champ. They might have done it in the Carrillo versus Sheamus match, I believe. But anyway, they're doing this just to basically just tell you, our way is right. The way everybody else does it is wrong. Our way is the correct way to build. Now, again, it's not so much that you can't pin a champion. You can do it occasionally as a shocker surprise, like once a year, once every couple years, once every 6 months. But you're doing it week in, week out, and it makes the champions look weak. It makes the titles look weak, and the importance of the titles are basically gone at this point. And now we're going to get to in a minute. Vince is now apparently, haven't killed his own titles enough. He's got to start killing NXT's. That's the bigger issue here. But you need to rebuild the importance of these belts. And the way they're building these title matches like this by having them pin the champions to get it, ridiculous. Absolutely absurd. Graves clarified. Yeah, Graves clarified that this was a championship contenders match, meaning it's non-title. But again, if you beat the champion, you get the title match. Not the way to do this. Jimmy Smith said the crowd chanted "Welcome back" for Lee during the break, which, again, good to see Keith Lee back. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. I'm glad he's back. That was a surprise that maybe you could have done tonight where you didn't completely blow your load, so to speak. But, again, maybe this is one of those you could have also held off to not just throw all your surprises in one night and just throw everything at the wall in one show. And, again, I understand why you do it. You're trying to retain the viewership, but you're doing too much. You're trying way too hard here. And then what are you going to have next week? You have nothing outside of Becky Lynch from a surprise perspective at this point, based on everything we're going to get into here. So we got the WWE champion, Bobby Lashley. He defeated Keith Lee in 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes, but short match. Keith Lee got some offense early on, but it ended up becoming Bobby Lashley, he trying to apply the hurt lock, but Lee once again was too big for all this. And Keith Lee looked good. Obviously, he was doing a lot of his acrobatics and stuff for a big man, leapfrogs and things like that. Before Lee could do anything, though, Lashley gave him a spine buster and followed up with a spear for the decisive pinfall. So they brought him back after 6 months, and you feed him to the champion to get beat. Now, again, I'm not going to complain too badly because at least Bobby Lashley didn't get beat here. If you were going to bring Keith Lee back after all this time, I would think you would want him to win because now he got destroyed by the champion. Welcome back, Keith Lee. It's like, way to bury him from the get-go already. Now, again, it was the WWE champion he lost to, so it's not like he lost to a complete nobody like, say, Karrion Kross. Well, I wouldn't call Jeff Hardy a complete nobody, but you know what I'm saying. Jeff has done nothing as of late, and all of a sudden, we'll get into that here in a minute. But Keith Lee, coming back after 6 months, should be coming back and getting a win, should he not? To build up this new guy coming back and to hopefully get him some wins and get him rolling again and maybe make him out to be a contender. No, he gets fed to the WWE champion here. And again, glad to see Bobby being a dominant champion. But don't book it against a guy that has a lot of potential like Keith Lee. Put him in the ring against somebody, who, wants the shot but, deserves to lose or something like that. Book Bobby in matches where he gets wins and you make him look strong, but you don't have to beat all your, possible superstars that could be your next big thing and bury them. That's the problem here. Are we getting it yet? I mean, it's like, anyway, I'm trying not to get too hot over this, but I'm pretty aggravated with this show, if you can't tell. After he gets beat by Lashley, that's when we get the return of Bill Goldberg. His music hits, the crowd cheered and chanted his name. Of course, again, you bring out a big name, the crowd is going to chant it. But be honest, this is what WWE does with part-timers, like I said. He's coming back, and he got right in Lashley's face in the ring, and he laughed at him. Laughed at the WWE champion. And Bobby stood there. Now, granted, he tried to go after him. MVP kind of got in between them. But he laughed in his face. Now, it kind of makes your champion look weak. Like, why would you take that? But I get it. They're not going to pull the trigger yet. They're going to wait smartly. I get that. They're telling a story here. He basically laughed in his face. And then he yelled, "I'm next." Goldberg line. But again, why does Goldberg deserve a WWE Championship match? Because his name is Bill Goldberg. He has name recognition, much like John Cena, and he will sell tickets for SummerSlam. But Bill Goldberg, at his age and at this stage of his career, he's only making himself look worse. He's tarnishing his legacy because he's holding on a little too long. Unlike, kind of like Undertaker, unfortunately. Undertaker maybe held on a little too long, and some of his matches weren't the greatest toward the end. Bill Goldberg can't last more than 2 to 3 minutes in the ring without getting completely blown up and gassing out and getting red-faced and has no air left and he has no ring. He's not in ring shape. He can't go for more than a couple minutes, and Bobby Lashley can. Now this match probably won't last very long. Goldberg may get a little bit of offense in, but Bobby should beat Bill Goldberg at SummerSlam. If they give Bill Goldberg the title at SummerSlam, you think I'm mad now? I'm going to be absolutely livid if they do that. I don't think they will, but again, either way, Bill Goldberg should not be in the championship match. Say what you want about AEW. I know there's probably a lot of people watching right now who hate AEW and they're diehard WWE fans. That's great. Nothing wrong with being a WWE fan. And if you don't like AEW, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. However, AEW, everybody wants to say they take all the old ex-WWE guys like, Christian or, Big Show or Mark Henry, or I guess they got Sting now too. So they're saying they're using all of them guys wrongly. Here's the thing. AEW has not put a single one of those guys in a world championship feud. Now, they put Jericho in the world title picture when AEW began, because when you start a company, you want a name brand superstar to hold your belt, to give your company a little bit of clout. That's why they did that with Jericho. But he's not done it since. He's not been in the world title matches in a long time. So, same with Sting and all them. The thing with the AEW books their legends, superstars, properly by using Sting to get over Darby Allin. Christian Cage is trying to get over Jungle Boy a little bit. These older talents are being used to get over the young guys, not being put into world championship title matches. Just like what they're doing with Goldberg. Cena. Again, I get with Cena and Goldberg, their names. I get all that. And it's going to draw eyes to the company. That's all this company cares about. They don't care about their future. They care about what they've had in the past. Their future superstars are the ones who are getting beaten. Rhea Ripley, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross. Anyway, Kevin Patrick approached Bobby Lashley and MVP in the back after this was over. Obviously, MVP backed Lashley away, and they left before the break. Kevin Patrick approached them, and MVP said Goldberg disrespected the champion, and they didn't plan on responding. So he's going to have to respond at some point. I'm sure we'll get that probably next week. Let me take a drink of water real quick here, because I'm getting awful heated here. All right. Jinder Mahal promo. Mahal announced that today was his birthday, which received a tepid response. No one cared. Even better than that, he said Drew McIntyre was not Money in the Bank. Mahal recapped recent events 3 different times on 3 different videos, by the way. This took a long time. I'm glad they recapped it to at least let people know what's been going on. Again, I appreciate that. But Mahal was happy that McIntyre wouldn't be getting a title match as long as Lashley was champion, which that was going to be the case regardless of whether or not he won Money in the Bank anyway. But anyway. Jinder Mahal handed the mic to Shanky so he could sing Happy Birthday. As Shanky sang, McIntyre entered the ring and hit Mahal and Veer with a chair. Veer helped Mahal out of the ring, so McIntyre hit Shanky with the chair about 10 times. To completely destroy this chair, by the way. The crowd chanted one more time, but the chair was busted, so McIntyre got a new one and hit Shanky with it 20 more times. Yes, 20 more times across the back, so a total of 30 times. As the crowd gleefully chanted along, Shanky wore a tank top, but you could still see bruises and some blood thanks to the chair shots he got here. So yeah, he got absolutely lit up by Drew McIntyre. This is the Drew McIntyre I enjoy. No more history lessons about the Loch Ness Monster. No more history lessons about Icarus and where his sword came from, how it was forged. Stop all that. That's why he got the pop he got here. And if they booked it that way for that reason, good job. At least they did good with Drew McIntyre this week. They made him out to be serious, no nonsense, and he took out the joke of a group here led by Jinder Mahal. Which, again, Jinder kind of just got this coming. He basically blamed Mahal for taking his Money in the Bank spot, even though Mahal had nothing to do with it. It was management. Take it up with them. But I get it. He's a heel. He's going to blame Jinder. It's kind of like Seth Rollins blaming Edge. Technically, Edge came back and asked for it, but management actually let Edge have the title match against Roman Reigns. But Rollins is blaming Edge. So here we go. Again, Raw and SmackDown sometimes has this thing where Raw's doing a certain story angle, so SmackDown copies it or vice versa. because we can't seem to come up with original content for each show. We got to copy each other's program. Much like Bobby Lashley was left vulnerable the last few weeks by getting beat by, Kofi and Xavier leading into the title match. They tried to make him look vulnerable. So Roman Reigns is tapping out after a match on SmackDown 3 days before or 2 nights before Money in the Bank to make him look vulnerable. Just copying stuff that they've done. So that's got to stop. Stop. If you're going to do that, just merge the divisions, merge the brands. There's no sense in the brands to be split at this point anyway. Your tag team division isn't deep enough. Your women's division isn't deep enough. Merge them. There's no sense in having them having separate shows at this point. Get rid of one of the world titles, get rid of one of the mid-card titles, and get rid of the 2 women's titles, get rid of one of them, get rid of one of the tag team championships. You don't need all these belts. There's no sense in this, in my opinion. That would be the best thing for me, but they're not going to do that. They've got too big of a roster. But they've got enough time to fill with all these guys. You don't have to have your, WWE champion on every week. You don't have to have your Universal champion on every week. But they feel like they've got to get everybody on every single show. But what you're doing when you do that, like with Charlotte Flair, you have her on every single show. She's overexposed. So what happens? The crowd does not care. Because we've seen too much of them. Why do we care about John Cena? We've not seen him in 6 months. Why do we care about Keith Lee? We've not seen him in 6 months. Why do we care when Becky Lynch comes back? We've not seen him. Now, I'm not saying you got to keep him off that long. But 2 or 3 weeks, then we see the champion. He does his thing. He looks dominant, and he goes back home. And then they build the contenders against other people, and then you bring the champion back at the pay-per-view. That's the way this should be booked. But that's just my opinion. Let's see here. So, he destroyed Shanky here. There was a Karrion Kross video where he said Doomsday is coming, basically. And that's when Kross entered the ring, or entered the stage area. He entered wearing his NXT title belt, but no Scarlett. So, right away, his entrance does not have the same effect as it does on NXT. Because Scarlett comes out to the ring and does this, the end is here, this creepy thing. And, of course, we don't see Karrion until he gets into the ring when the music hits at a certain point. Now they've got Karrion Kross coming in. He's standing there, just kind of, lip syncing the music a little bit, and he's just kind of walking slowly to the ring until the hard rock part of his song kicks in. That's when he walks in the ring, and he kind of does this thing in the ring, which is great. That's what he does in the ring. But there's no fog machine. There's no light display action going on like on NXT. They've basically given him they gave him a graphic. And they gave him generic entrance number 2 again, much like they did on Main Event. They gave him some lighting a little bit, but they didn't give him the strobe effects and stuff like that. The NXT makes it look so much better the way they've booked Karrion Kross as an entrance. Not just that, the way they booked him as a super. Now, they tried to keep Karrion strong despite the fact he loses this match here, which we're going to get into a little bit. Jeff Hardy comes out to face Karrion Kross. Now, Jeff Hardy, nope. I get it. Jeff Hardy's a legend. He's great. I love Jeff Hardy. But Jeff Hardy has done nothing for months. And I understand WWE main roster view NXT as the developmental brand. But to be honest, NXT is the better of the 3 brands. There's no reason it should be viewed as a developmental brand anymore. It should be their 3rd brand that is far superior to Raw and SmackDown at this point. Their booking has its issues at times as well, but their booking is more consistent than Raw or SmackDown on the whole. So Jeff Hardy comes out. He gets his old theme music back, No More Words. So that right there makes Jeff's... Because this is the same theme song he had when he was the WWE champion. And they even mentioned that when he won the title at this point. So it looks as if they're trying to give Jeff Hardy a little bit more of a push here, a little bit more of a shine to kind of get him back to being relevant. And obviously that's probably why they gave him the win here against Karrion Kross. But the problem is... Karrion Kross is the NXT World Champion. Karrion Kross has been undefeated on NXT for a long, long, long time. And he comes up to Raw, first night, gets pinned by Jeff Hardy, who has been jobbing week in and week out on Main Event. I hate this. I hated this booking decision. For the most part, Kross was dominating Jeff during this match, too. Hardy picks up the surprise win after Kross dodged a swanton bomb, but Hardy stacked him up and pinned him with his feet on the ropes. So the babyface cheated. That's another thing. The babyface put his feet on the ropes to get the leverage, and the ref didn't see it. Okay, does that sound like a babyface tactic to you? I know in their minds, baby faces and heels sometimes don't exist, but they do. This is a pro wrestling company. So you pin Karrion Kross here on his first night. Now, obviously, after the match, they talked to Kross in the ring, or tried to talk to Kross in the ring, asking him about losing his Raw debut, and Kross said that Hardy just made the biggest mistake of his life because in the end, everyone will fall and pray, which is the line from his theme song. So clearly this must continue. So it sounds like we're getting a Karrion Kross, Jeff Hardy feud. Now, hopefully, by the time this feud's over, Kross will have destroyed Jeff Hardy so many times that he's back to relevancy. But you don't bring the NXT champion to the main roster while he's still champion and beat him, effectively burying the entire NXT brand. That's the way I took this. That's the way most fans should take this. But there's going to be some fans who will justify this and will actually, be happy that they beat Karrion Kross here because NXT is the developmental brand and they all suck. Raw and SmackDown, one more for the good guys. That sort of nonsense you get on Twitter. But yeah, I'm sorry. If you're going to bring Karrion Kross, first of all, why didn't you have him drop the belt to Johnny Gargano last week? I mean, I'm glad Karrion Kross kept the belt on NXT because he's been doing a great job down there. And apparently he's going to be doing double duty Raw and NXT for a while. But again, as long as he's got the belt and he's taking losses on Raw, it only makes NXT look worse. So again, Vince has, ran through all his champions, beating all of them outside of Roman. Of course, he was tapping out after the match, but he hasn't beat Roman yet. But everybody else is taking losses. So now we got to start burying the NXT championships. Is this funny to you, old man? So I'm not laughing. Okay, so the crowd did not care about Karrion Kross at all, probably because they don't watch NXT, which is a shame, by the way. Raw and SmackDown have the greater ratings when it comes to these three brands, but NXT is far and beyond, miles and miles better than Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. That's why we review it on our channel week in, week out without fail. And the Raw and SmackDown reviews go on that review because NXT is actually a good show. Or at least it was until they start burying their championships. So we'll see what happens. Alexa's Playground. This was absolutely terrible, too. Bliss spoke to Lily. We finally got the return of the dumb doll. So I guess we're going to get more magic. Bliss spoke to Lily for a moment until Eva Marie and Doudrop busted in. Bliss ignored Eva Marie, but was happy again to see Doudrop because she likes saying her name. Doudrop. Doudrop. Bliss warned that it was not a good idea to say anything bad about Lily. Bliss also didn't want to put her in timeout again. Eva Marie was annoyed. Bliss wanted to see what Marie could do without any help. Eva Marie decided to leave, but she tripped over absolutely nothing, by the way. This was the worst trip I've ever seen in my life. She was, and fell over. I mean, this is horrible acting here. Presumably Bliss or Lily caused her to fall with their hypnosis or whatever it was. So that was the thing they were trying to get across here. Eva Marie scrambled away and Alexa Bliss laughed. So yeah. So apparently we're going to get an Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss feud here, which I'm sure they're going to play off the Doudrop stuff. Doudrop dropped her over the barricade a few weeks ago, even though Alexa was supposedly being friendly to Doudrop, and she was being friendly with her again here tonight. So no repercussions for Doudrop for dropping her over the barricade. Are we just going to be, we're going to forget that, Alexa? So yeah, we're going to get more shenanigans with the doll and Alexa with her creepy, crazy magic. This sucks. Get rid of it. AJ Styles and Omos defend their tag titles against the Viking Raiders again next week. More rematches. Because we can't book anything fresh. Now, there were a few fresh matches on this show, in all fairness. Cross and Jeff Hardy. There was a few. But Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley. I mean, there was a few. But for the most part, it's the same feuds we've seen for months. Natalya and Tamina and Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, we've seen for months. Sheamus and Carrillo, we've seen for months. I mean, all this stuff, it's rinse, repeat. Always on Monday Night Raw. Just much like when WrestleMania happened, we all praised WrestleMania. We thought it was a good show. But as soon as they give us something good, a la Money in the Bank, they turn right around and give us a fucking shitty show. Anyway. We had the Raw Women's Championship in the main event. Charlotte Flair defending against Rhea Ripley. Charlotte Flair wins in, you guessed it, a DQ finish. They go for a while in this main event, and we get a DQ to end it. So again, why should we care? Not only is this a rematch that we've already seen multiple times, Rhea Ripley got defeated clean last night, and we have to have this yet again because we got to fill 3 hours of television time. That's basically the only reason here. God forbid we get someone who earns it. At least they kind of finished with somebody who did kind of earn it last night. But anyway, so yeah, this basically ends. Charlotte started to leave with the belt because she didn't want any more of this. So again, she was taking the coward way out. Granted, she is a heel, even though I don't know if Rhea's really a babyface either. But Charlotte was trying to leave with the belt, was going to get herself counted out. Rhea tried to attack Charlotte to keep her from running away. That's when Charlotte hit her with the belt and blindsided her, and then got the ref to call for the DQ. So she kind of weasels her way out of this. So this must continue most likely. We're probably going to get another rematch here because they didn't bring out Becky Lynch. Well, I take that back. I'm sorry, I forgot to finish. But now, yeah, so I don't know if Rhea and Charlotte may continue. We'll see where they go. But yeah, after this, Rhea attacked Charlotte after the match and gave her a riptide on the outside of the ring. That is when Nikki ASH's music hit, and she sprinted down and told the referee she was cashing in her Money in the Bank contract that she won last night. This was surprising. And again, it's one of those things where the crowd's going to pop for this just because obviously anytime someone cashes in a Money in the Bank briefcase, the crowd's going to go nuts for it. So yeah, at least WWE booked it in a way to where it got the crowd to pop, which I believe is the whole intent of this show. In that case, they accomplished their goal. But moving forward, when it comes to a storyline perspective and some of these other cases, terrible. This here, I got no problem with it outside of the fact that obviously Nikki, well, let's get into it. Nikki went to the top and hit a flying crossbody as soon as Charlotte got to her feet, and she won the Raw Women's Championship. The crowd popped for Nikki Ash, big for the cash-in and the win. This was a pretty fun ending to the show, mainly because it took the title off of Charlotte again. But here's the problem with that. This is my problem with Charlotte Flair, and a lot of these champions that win like 15, 16 championship reigns. When Ric Flair won the 16 world titles, those world titles were meaningful. Charlotte Flair, she was talking tonight about how she got 11 championship wins. Okay, great. How many of those were relevant? Not this one. Because you held it, what, 24 hours? Just to get your numbers up. That's all it's for. It's only to get Charlotte Flair to that 16 time like her father. That's what it's for. And we're going to get more of this because she's only at 11. So she's got 5 more to go before she even ties her daddy. So when she goes into Hall of Fame one year, they're going to say she was the 16-time Women's World Champion, pal. She's the greatest of all time. No. Only maybe 2 or 3 of her championship reigns were actually worth something. Everything else was padding the numbers. Cena, a lot of his championships were worth something. There's probably a few there who wasn't, and he's going to be going for 17. We'll see if that pans out, or if they keep the title on Roman, which they should. If they beat Roman with a part-timer in Cena, screw this company. I'm already going to say it. Screw this company for what they did to Karrion Kross NXT tonight. That made me so mad. And I love, don't get me wrong, if you're still watching this after this rant of mine, I love WWE. I grew up on WWE. I'm 39 years old. I've watched WWE since I was 10. Almost 30 years I've watched this company. And I'm at the point where WWE is flat out the worst I've ever seen it. And when I lived through the 94, 95 year or so, when that was trash outside of maybe the main event picture. And even the Attitude Era, I understand, even during their best of times, a lot of the undercard was garbage. But even their main event card right now is trash. And at least then, even though maybe didn't have the biggest stars on the undercard and things like that in the Attitude Era, they booked things a little bit better than this. They didn't beat their champions all the time like this. They didn't have every match end in DQs and disqualifications and distractions and roll-ups and bullshit. They actually had wins and losses that actually built to actual decent feuds. This is a horrible show. Raw is one of the worst wrestling shows I've ever seen in my life. And if you like this, again, more power to you. I don't understand why you like this, because if you've watched any semblance of wrestling in your life, this booking is some of the worst I've ever seen. It's a dumpster fire. At least Nikki Ash won the Money in the Bank, even though it made the other 6 women who were standing on that ladder look like absolute geeks. because they weren't paying attention and took their eye off the briefcase when Nikki just snuck up there and grabbed it. At least Nikki earned that. She got some fluky wins earlier on when she became this almost a superhero character, and those were ridiculous because she just basically covered someone after they got their ass whooped by somebody else. So at least in this case, she earned her opportunity, and she cashed in and made it count. Opportunistic because Charlotte was beat up. Now watch, next week, Charlotte's going to win another championship by getting her rematch against Nikki, and all this is going to be another bunch of bullshit. I'm calling that now. I wouldn't be surprised. Raw is terrible. All right, so that'll do it for me. Anyway, I apologize for my anger tonight, but I saw this. I could not wait to do this. I hope you guys enjoyed my rantings here. I'm trying to be positive with this company. I really want it to be better. I do. This company means a lot to me. I've grown up with it. I've got Funko Pops, and I've been a fan for almost 30 years, as I said. I love pro wrestling. I don't like bullcrap that they've been giving us here on this show. So I hope they get better, and I thought Money in the Bank was a step in the right direction with fans being back. They were putting their best foot forward. I even said that here on this channel. Go check out those reviews, and you can find the fact that I said it right there. But this isn't it. They took a big step back on Monday Night Raw, which I shouldn't have expected any less. Monday Night Raw is as bad as it's been for the last year. It's just now we've got the window dressing to cover up a lot of it because we got fans excited. Once that honeymoon phase of the fans being back is over, they're going to boo the shit out of this because fans are going to get sick and tired of this just as much as I am right now. Or at least the smart fans. Or there's going to be some fans like, yay, it's Monday Night Raw. I love everything they do. But eventually, fans are going to get tired of this just as much as I am. I'm tired of it already because I'm not buying into their window dressing. I'm not buying into the stuff they're using to mask things up. And not only that, how many zooms and cuts did we see during the freaking Drew McIntyre chair bashing? I mean, good God. Enough with the camera tricks. I mean, but anyway. All right, so I'll get out here, but that's all I wanted to really say. I wanted to go over the show because it was horrible. If you like it, good for you. I'm happy for you. Genuinely, I am. I hope somebody finds enjoyment out of this because I hate the show. Now, yeah, I get the argument. Stop watching if you don't like the show. I get it. But I do reviews for wrestling on this channel. I'm doing it for the channel, so I'm just being honest with the way I feel about it. You don't have to agree with me, and that's the beauty of art. You don't have to agree that this was bad. If you liked it, I'm thrilled for you. Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm glad somebody is because to us more diehard wrestling fans who have been around for a lot of years, and I get a lot of kids probably enjoy this, much like Money in the Bank. They did a lot of good things, and they created great moments for kids. This is not wrestling. This is, just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping things stick. Bad. It's not Wrestling 101, and it's just terrible booking. But anyway, I'll quit ranting now. But let me know if you guys like this rant. Let me guys know if you liked my review. Did you like Monday Night Raw? If you did, by all means, please comment down below. Let me know why you liked it. Obviously, I think I did a pretty good job of laying out why some of this was terrible. But if I can be convinced otherwise, by all means, feel free to comment down below. Let me know. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content right here on this channel. And until my next video, guys, take care. Come back and check out the NXT review tomorrow. That's a better show.